Once again, good evening for a Wednesday night at Cat Space with myself and Buckets and my mentor and dear friend Horsey. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, Kat. Yeah, I'm good. You good?
Not too bad. Okay, so the topic we are going to run with is virtual reality. The first question I have for you, Horsey, is how close to real reality is virtual reality becoming?
Oh, for me, not very close. Although I've never really experienced it properly, I must say.
I mean, we are we are in one as we speak.
That's what I was about to say, but I thought I better not.
Well, if you think about it, like virtual reality, I mean, that used to be something purely for entertainment. But so,
It was.
as a counselor, I've heard about how people have been tested. Thank you very much for moving me closer to the screen. How people have actually been tested with specific subjects, counseling subjects, but also first aid subjects as well. Um, when passing their subjects. So
Mm.
the question remains: does it actually have another use other than entertainment?
Which
Oh,
leads
certainly.
Which leads to my second question is, are we going to be using virtual reality for more than just entertainment, and can it serve a real purpose in our world?
Well, see, it started off, I remember it in the mid 90s, or early 90s, actually, when they had these cafes. And when there was a guy up on the stage dressed like a frogman with a suit on and goggles and, audio and that. And it was like, he or she was in a different world and taking actions according to what they're experiencing through virtual reality. And it was kind of funny. And that was entertainment for the rest of us and entertainment for the participant too. But I mean, yeah, sure. It's actually, and there were, fighter pilots had simulators that were created, and that sort of thing has been around for nearly 30 years. So certainly, yes. I mean, it began, very close to its beginning. It was used for more than just entertainment. Certainly was.
Now, what do you think?
Well, I actually think that virtual reality has a bigger role to play in our society. Actually, I think that in the 80s it was like, oh, virtual reality, we can have it for games and things like that. But I honestly think that there are things in our world which we wouldn't really consider virtual reality, which technically are. And I actually saw an article about 2 weeks ago about a guy who married a doll, and even though it was like, yes, I don't want to have to say what type of doll it is because you all know what type of doll it is.
Like a blow up doll.
Well,
I mean, that
we
was
used to call them
they've been
blow dolls,
around
but
for
now they're according to the, where did he marry that person?
He's in Kazakhstan,
In
which
Kazakhstan. So it's now considered a person now.
yeah, which leads to me thinking about all this, and it's actually a real fact that a guy can actually fall in love and marry a mannequin or a doll and have a real wedding, an actual real wedding with a real cake and everything and a celebration. And he's holding onto that mannequin or doll and taking photos of their honeymoon and their relationship and treating her like she's actually a human.
So I would call that virtual reality because he's got a virtual wife.
Well, it is, but it's not much of a relationship still, is it really?
No.
I mean, it can only go so far.
This is
Oh,
what
apparently he went really far.
this
And
is
after
this is where
after the wedding and the cake is eaten and the guests have all gone, were there guests or was it just a wedding?
No, there were guests,
real
his family and
guests.
friends.
Yeah, we saw the whole thing.
Bridesmaids and groomsmen.
I mean, we didn't get an
family
invite, but we saw the whole thing.
If you look it up on Google, you'll be quite shocked and quite surprised at how far it's gone, which leads me to my third question is, are we spending too much time in virtual reality? And my theory is, yes, we are. Yes, we have, on so many reasons. We've now gone from MySpace to Facebook to Instagram to Twitter to WhatsApp to living in a bubble, in such a bubble that we don't remember what it was like pre social media, pre virtual reality, pre, internet. When we had internet, we had dial up. And then after that, we'd, go to our rooms and play, or we'd go outside with our friends, or we just hang around. But now, because we're consumed by phones and consumed by tablets and iPads and, you know, you know, seeing our friends and our family on video calls and audio calls rather than actually writing a letter or actually going to visit, literally. So are we spending too much time in virtual reality? My answer
Well,
is
see,
yeah.
when you talk about virtual reality, Kat, you're talking about, I think you're talking about more than just going online, because going online, yes, you can see photos and you can speak to people, but you can't actually experience more than that. Whereas what I thought we were talking about was more of a sensory experience that actually, shuts out everything else.
Technically,
In the same way as, I mean, virtual reality has been around in a way for decades, in that, I mean, as early as the 70s, they had cinema experiences, which with wraparound 360-degree screens, sound systems, where sounds came from all different directions. And there were even experiments with smells and physical sort of rumbling and physical like a sort of mini earthquakes in the cinema, where the seats would sort of move to add to the cinematic experience. So that's what we're talking about. So I don't think that talking about just online experiences is really virtual reality. It's more than that. It's something which adds to this, encompasses most, if not almost all of our senses, I think.
What do you think?
well, well, I guess it depends on what you consider virtual reality to be, because I think the definition of virtual reality has changed over the years. I mean, before virtual reality was just getting a bunch of goggles, as you described, with a guy that was dressed as a frogman, as you described before. But, then you mentioned those flight simulator things. I mean, those things have been around for years, and they're pretty accurate as well. I mean, I've heard of pilots being tested on those things. I went to Warner Brothers Movie World, and they had a cinema very much like what you were describing, where they showed water on the screen, but then what the staff would do is basically start spraying you with super soakers and stuff like that, so you get the sensation of water coming through. But I think also virtual reality could just mean a lot of things. I mean, I've heard about entire worlds where people can start selling actual products that aren't physical products but are actually online products. And I was playing a game called Headshot, I think it was a couple of years ago, where you could actually buy guns and all sorts. Sniper shot, there we go, sniper shot. And you could actually buy different weapons and all sorts of things like armor and whatever for a price, even though technically you can't touch the armor, you can't feel the gun, but you can definitely buy it, and you can pay for them in real money within a different currency. So you could actually buy credits, which could go up and down depending on the market.
Now,
That's quite common with video games. I mean, that's been around for some time. But I think what we're talking about is something that is a sensory experience that is more than just. I mean, you could argue that a video game is in that category where you're buying weapons and you're actually using them and you're wandering around and you're absorbed in that experience. But something which, I mean, like the guy with the suit on, everything else is shut out. I think that's the point. Whereas when you're playing a video game in your lounge room, then everything else is not shut out. I mean, you can stop it or you can pause it or whatever, and you can go and do something else. But with a true virtual reality experience, you can't do that. You're fully immersed in that environment, even though it's artificial. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that this is where I'm leading to think. I mean, I've been trying to wrap my head around it for a number of years, this virtual reality world existence of it, which is,
Mm,
I know this is going to sound silly of me to say, or maybe doesn't make sense, but if you watch movies like Back to the Future, I think not one, part
mm,
two, where Marty goes back in time with Doc and he sees his son, which is him, and he sees this big screen and it's all holographic, and
mm,
you see the hologram jumping out at you. I mean, we've come to a world where virtual reality will not just be virtual reality, but it's also holographic, where
mm.
images pop out and it's like you can touch it, but you can't really feel it, type of thing. And that's the scary part of virtual reality is that this world is so dependent on um, making us believe that this is where our reality is heading,
Mm.
or could head, if I may say that.
Well, I've actually
Yeah, I
seen
mean, certainly.
I've actually seen buildings, futuristic buildings that haven't been built yet. So futuristic apartments where they've
Mm,
built the plan. Well, they've shown the plans of them on, say, a billboard, but the billboard looks real. It looks like a real picture. And even though it hasn't been built yet, one day it'll look exactly like that.
mm.
And even though it's not 100% virtual reality, we have goggles and stuff like that. It's still, I would argue that it was a type of virtual reality because A, it hasn't been built yet, but B, it's going to look exactly like the picture in 2-3 years' time.
Also,
Mm,
sorry, Jose, to cut you off. Just briefly. Also, I know you say, oh, we've had this around for a number of years, but smart houses. Look at smart houses and how smart they are. I
mm,
mean, we've had Alexa, we've had Siri, we've had, you name it. Like, you can buy stuff and hook it up to the light bulbs, and you could say, Alexa, play a song, or Alexa, turn the lights on or turn the lights off. I mean, smart houses and all these Google Chromecast things. I mean, our virtual reality is insanity almost, because it's,
Because now we have virtual
yeah,
friends.
virtual friend. You can even make virtual friends that aren't don't really exist, but they're there, and it's sort of,
yeah, I've not really
what do
got
you
into
think?
Alexa or those guys. I don't really use Alexa and those people because I don't think it doesn't do anything for me. But what was I about to say? See, the smart houses and turning lights on, those environments are still under your control. You command the system to do it, even remotely. Um, so that's a bit different to a virtual reality experience and being in an artificial environment over which you have little or no control apart from your movements, which are then taken in by the system, the virtual reality system, and responded to by the environment. So, you know what I mean? So you don't have control over everything that goes on. Um, much like a video game, but with more of a sensory experience. But I do think virtual reality and those sensory experiences could be used. I mean, we've talked about fighter pilots being trained. I don't know why they haven't started to do it with driver training. I think that'd be a good idea. Um, I mean, at times uh, the road authorities can't even get their own website working properly, so it doesn't surprise me they haven't implemented this. But they could use it for driver training very easily.
Hmm.
And instead of being out on the road, you could be in a simulated environment, which would be just as, all encapsulating, and there'd be a very good training, I think, for drivers. Also, medical applications where perhaps if you're going to undergo a surgical procedure or something, which will change the way you your body works, or will he perhaps, for someone who perhaps can't walk and will be able to walk after the procedure is finished, it will actually show them what it would be like after the procedure is done. And so they can experience what it would be like. And so that will prepare them for what's going to happen. I think that'd be another useful application. What do you reckon?
Here's the thing, when I was looking up this topic and how we could talk about it, I did my homework and I did some research, and I used to hear this on the news even now, is that there are printers out there that hospitals can use, that offices can use, and companies can use, and they can make 3D objects which are usable via the printer. And
Yes,
you're talking about
3D
like
printers.
whether it's a kidney or a heart, or whether it's something to do with cars or something, they can actually print that out and use it. Virtual reality.
The thing is about it is they can't really print out a heart, because the heart is really complicated. And so if you were to print out a plastic heart and then put it in a human body, what would happen is your white blood cells would just attack it, because it wouldn't recognize it as human. It would recognize it as foreign.
But here's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the
Sorry,
problem
here's
with
what
that. I
I'm
mean, you can actually you can make a mechanical part with a 3D printer, but making flesh and blood is a different matter. They keep saying that they can do that, and even clone people. And it was 1997 when they cloned, remember Dolly the sheep?
Yep.
And they said, oh, this is the beginning of great things, and nothing has happened since then. So they can get very, 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 very close to creation, but they can't actually replicate it.
Well,
so
also-
yeah, it's interesting.
Just one thing about that is that I remember I saw a documentary about a white bull called Chance, and he died, and his farmer loved him, and he wanted his favorite white bull to be cloned, and his name was Second Chance. Now everything was going really, really well until Second Chance decided to attack his owner. So there might be something there where it might mess up the system, or what might be a bit confusing for the animal, or they might get angry because you can't predict the mannerisms or emotions. So I mean, he loves Second Chance, but what people forget is that that's a white bull. I mean, that can basically kill people if he's not careful.
Also,
it's interesting because it can be done. It's obviously been done with animals, but humans are a slightly different matter. And again, while a virtual reality experience is very, very close to reality, it's actually not reality. There's that little gap there. And humankind gets closer and closer and closer and closer with the help of science to actually replicating what has been done through what I believe is creation. We get closer and closer, closer. It's like a mathematical curve, those, what are they called, logarithmic curves that never actually meet, but keep getting ever closer and ever closer, but they will never actually meet. And as we develop in our scientific abilities, we get closer and closer and closer. But I actually don't believe, in the same way as virtual reality is never actually exactly the same as reality itself, though it's very, very close, and it's imitative of reality, but it's not actually reality. I don't believe we'll actually get there in the end. We'll get closer and closer and closer, but we won't get there. We will never actually be able to, in terms of organs, printing organs we're just talking about, we'll never actually be able to create life ourselves. So yeah,
I just think that if you can create something and make it real and whatever, it's no longer virtual reality, it's just reality.
The last two things I want to say before we move on to the next question really quickly is, I was also doing some research, and I heard this on Channel 10 News not that long ago, actually, about in Europe, for the first time ever, someone's actually created a half car, half plane. And I looked at it and I thought, the Jetson era is finally happening, where the car is half a car, or car plane, if you don't mind me saying so. And the guy can actually get a normal license, normal plane license, and drive the half car, half plane up in the air, 30,000 feet. And then when it lands, be drivable enough to be used as a car.
Can I just say,
It's like Harry Potter.
if
Like
he
that
gets
car in
busted by
Harry
the
Potter.
cops, which license does he take out to the cops?
Let's be serious. I mean, look at Sir Richard Branson. All these car boats. That's another virtual reality is he brought to life, which is car boats. But this guy has a car plane, and he's the only one in Europe that's actually doing it. That's actually flying a car plane. And
Yeah, well, that's an interesting mix. I mean, that's but again, it's a mechanical object, and that's fine. You know, that's I'm not sure how that's linked to the concept of virtual reality, but it's
the concept of
I
virtual
guess more
reality
of a
is you can fly a plane, but it's a car. And I look, I'm not smart. I don't know how to explain it, but in a sense, it gets to a reality where anything we do now in this modern age is reality. They have to virtually design it, and then they have to bring it to life and work on it for it to become a reality. And the other thing I was saying to Philip was that now the virtual reality set that you can buy for, or go to the Westfields and do one of those virtual reality games, and you can buy it, bring it home. And I said to Philip, how strange would it be if virtual reality went as far as to buy one of those and be able to go, okay, I want to go to, say, the inauguration, put it on, it goes live on the virtual reality, and you're actually in the crowd.
Yeah, Horsey's just been taken away and put back again.
And it's a strange.
It's a virtual
my
hair.
long-haired assistant. My long-haired assistant.
It's a strange thing to go, okay, I want to go to the inauguration, and you're standing in your house and you see the thing in front of you and it's playing, and you're part of the crowd, and that's part of, but that's not really reality. It's virtual reality. It makes you believe that you're there when you're not.
Oh, see, that's something you mentioned in one of your questions, Kat, was about virtual reality world tours.
Yes.
And I mean, you can look at webcams at the moment, and you can see what the conditions are like in, say Times Square in New York, or Trafalgar Square in London, or in Moscow or somewhere like that. You can actually go around the world. But so virtual reality world tours, I mean, what is added to that in terms of just looking at a photo or looking at a video? What more is there to a world tour? Is it something you book into and starts at a certain time, and you have to actually be there, and you have to be participating at certain times of the day, or how does it work?
Well, basically what happened was I saw it on Facebook, and my friend started clicking on it, and I'm like, oh yeah, what's this? I'll have a look at it. And I clicked on it, and it says virtual tour of Spain and of Rome and Canada and US and Africa and all this, and come see the wildlife and experience Niagara Falls and all that. And I clicked on it, and now's the day where you can just go, oh, this is the head wrapping question that I had was, virtual tours around the world, is this the new beginning of going on a unrealistic holiday without leaving your home, a virtual reality without leaving your home?
So it's a virtual holiday.
It's a virtual holiday while you're sitting and looking at views live in front of your very eyes and going, oh, I feel like I'm there. I'm actually there. I can see it. I can hear it.
And no,
it'll be a lot cheaper.
Well, what these people will do is they'll strap a camera to their head, and because the camera is walking with the person, you feel like you're walking through the CBD, or walking through Venice, or walking through Paris. And we, because it's COVID and you can't travel, Kat and I found that to be quite relaxing, really, just to go walk about and seeing the shops and stuff. The only bad thing about it is that we can't actually go into the shops.
Well, I wonder whether like a real tour we might be able to interact with other people who are on the tour at the same time
Exactly.
through,
I would
you
love
know,
it.
Before we wrap up, I just want to give a massive, massive, massive shout out to the Gateway Productions. They are they're a meditation relaxation YouTube
mm,
page focused solely on meditating and piano music, and they have actually subscribed, Horsey, to our channel. So to the Gateway Productions, thank you so much for subscribing and your beautiful comments. We're giving you a massive shout out. I hope you like this video. But yeah, I think, as you said, we'll be able to interact with others
well,
who,
that would make it really, really very, very close to the real experience.
yeah,
Although the funny thing is, like if it's on Zoom or something like that, and you've got 50 other people who are participating in the tour at the same time, um, I don't know how it will be organised. Whether when you say something, everybody will hear you, and you'll be having a conversation with all those 50 people at the same time. Whereas in reality, you'd be wandering along with 2 or 3 other people near you, and you'd be having a conversation with those 2 or 3 people. So it's the dynamics are different online. That they are than they are in person. Let's just say.
Well, I
I've found
suppose
anyway.
also
I suppose in person you can really smell the atmosphere. You can
feel
smell
it,
it, you can
touch it, go
feel it,
through
touch
it.
food. But you know what? If you're on a budget and you want to go see the Eiffel Tower, for example,
This is where virtual reality sets in, is you can go to these virtual tours and go, oh wow, look at that, or that's the Eiffel Tower, or that's the Louvre, or that's wherever that is, and you're sitting in
that's
your
my car keys.
that's no, but you're sitting in your seat and you're going, wow, I'm actually on a virtual holiday tour looking at countries and places, and I don't have to spend $1 booking a hotel and packing my suitcase, and I'm
I
actually
don't know about that. I mean, I said before it'd be cheaper, but that's the question. If the virtual reality tour is so good, it may not be much cheaper. I mean, those who are running them may want to ask a decent sort of price for participation. It wouldn't just be free.
Well, the thing is,
I'd imagine there'd be some cost to it, but would it be truly a fraction of the cost of going there, or would it be, well, you're going to pay half the cost of going there,
right now
simply
we've got
because they're the only ones offering?
okay. So here's the last question. Speaking of that, and
Mm.
you are pretty much wise on the money, is are virtual reality currencies going to be worth more than actual hard cash? Like we could be, you know, look, I'm not smart. I wouldn't understand these things, but from what I'm trying to get at is virtual reality currencies. Like when we do receive those currencies, are they going to be worth more and valuable, worth more normal cash than actual?
Well, I don't understand what you're talking about. I mean, I've heard of this other thing called Bitcoin,
yes.
Yeah.
and I don't understand that either. I just fail to understand what the point of it is. So what is this currency of which you speak?
Okay, so right now, you've got 2 types of Bitcoin. You have American Bitcoin, which just went through the roof, and I heard about people buying complete houses with Bitcoin. My friend seriously went to Thailand, um, and bought a flight using Bitcoin. I'm not even kidding about. And he had a great time, came back, and he tells me lots of stories about it, including buying snake alcohol. But yeah, but anyway, the problem. Okay, so American Bitcoin was great when it came out, but the only problem with American Bitcoin was that it goes really, 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 really up, that like any stock market would. But it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So it could go down and up and down and up, just like any currency, but it's really, really safe apparently.
And
Australian Bitcoin is basically the same thing, only it's in Australia, but it's unpredictable. It'll be really, you'll become really, really, really positive, strong, and then when you least expect it, it'll just drop.
the last thing about this is that if you're working, you'll be able to use Bitcoin from your wages, Bitcoin to actually buy a house or to buy a car, and you'll never run out of money from what I've read, or, it's better than saving up. And, I believe cash, I believe credit cards will be a thing of the past as we're heading towards,
Well,
more.
I suppose anything can be a currency. And really, when you talk about what money is, I mean, okay, I've got a bit of cash in my pocket. When I go to buy a cup of coffee or whatever it is, I get it out and I use it for small purchases. Most large purchases are made with a credit card. And really, when you've got, as I said, anything can be a currency, but really, I mean, years ago, the banks actually had vaults with lots of cash in them. But now you've got, it's all computerized. And if you went to draw out, if you own $1 million, say, that's what you've got in your bank balance, and you went into the bank, you said, I want to withdraw all that money and have it in cash, they wouldn't be able to do it because they don't have that much cash in the bank, if they have any cash at all. I'm not sure they must have some, but at the branch. So things have changed in that way. So really, when you look at your bank balance, it's just a number on a computer. It's just a bunch of numbers that represents the value of what you supposedly own in terms of cash assets. But it's so anything can really be a currency. And really the question is, if everybody drew out all the cash they had, even if it was in bits and bits and bits day by day from the bank, would there be enough actually cash currency in the world to supply all those demands? Probably not.
Well, here's the thing, right? If they're just numbers, as you say there, right? It's not like where cash is physical. So
well, it's value. Don't get me wrong. It represents value, but it's not actually physical cash that you can go and put your hands on straight away in most cases.
But the thing is about, say, anything that's on a credit card, right? That is a, for lack of a better word, it's basically a virtual currency, if you think about it. If everyone did exactly what you said they did, and everyone withdrew at exactly the same time, all the money that they had in their account, okay, it really wouldn't be that difficult to just basically put some new numbers in. What would be difficult is, however, replacing said cash with more cash, because that would require more printing, which would lower the currencies. And that's
I suppose that if it had to be done in a hurry, it would. And there have been cases like that. I think Greece was the last example I can remember where their money was devalued to the point where they said that people were taking whole wheelbarrows full of cash to the shop to buy a newspaper. So I don't know why that occurred, but I mean, I suppose the mint still prints money every day. I suppose they're still producing it. And as things in the world gain in value, then the fact that there's more money doesn't necessarily matter, because it's and I don't know how that's reconciled with the the national assets and the budget and all that sort of stuff as to how much cash there actually physically is. I don't know whether they even know. But if there were a crisis, a financial crisis of some sort, then as far as the numbers go, I think the amount of money that we each have in our bank balance wouldn't necessarily change, but its value certainly would. And the cost of goods and services would go up, and so the value wouldn't be as great as it was before. And because of the use of credit cards and virtual cash, as you say, virtual payments, things like PayPal and all that sort of stuff, I don't think that there'll ever be a situation where that value or that money actually disappears from your bank accounts.
No,
it'll just be that the value of what you have will be reduced. I don't know what that's got to do with virtual reality, but anyway.
Well, I mean, it's kind of virtual cash if you think about it.
But
I'm virtually in debt, so.
Okay, last question for the night. Last question. Here we go. The big picture. What are the health and social benefits of virtual reality? Go, Halsey. Or is it-
The health benefits. I'm not sure. Look, I'm not a great believer in the fact that there are health benefits to anything virtual myself, because I prefer not to participate in virtual activities as opposed to live ones, because I think it's the communication is much better and the experience is much better. So I'm not sure that I would say that there are any health benefits to virtual reality, with the possible exception of.
I would kind of disagree with that, because the thing is, when you have places like country-like areas where a hospital isn't nearby,
Yeah.
you basically need some sort of training, then virtual training would come in really useful. So that's where I could see it. Also, I could think that a lot of prescription medication, where you'd normally have to go into a GP to get it, could be virtually sent to you via email per se, as long as it got a stamp of approval by a doctor. So from that perspective, I think it would become quite beneficial. I also think that the thing about virtual reality is that in a world where we can't basically go meet each other because of COVID, things like chat sites and all that would actually increase your psychological health, because you're constantly in contact with
That's right.
Actually,
that's right.
since there's two people here, let's ask your long-haired assistant what she thinks.
She's doing an extra.
I think she's busy over there.
Can you answer a question for me?
We can
What do you
call her
think-
over.
What do you think of
Long-haired
the?
assistant.
Come on down, come on down, sweetie. Come on down. Come on. I'll wait for you.
We can't afford to give her $1,000.
It's all right.
Sorry.
Long-haired assistant.
Hi. Just want to ask you a quick question. Since you were in the background, and is that your daughter?
You can answer a couple of questions now.
Is that your daughter?
No, it's her cup of tea assistant. Who do you think it is?
Wow. You've got a wise father there. My question to you, my love, is what do you think the health benefits of virtual reality is?
Oh God. I haven't really looked at anything virtual reality, so I can't say whether there would be any health benefits or not. So I don't really have an answer for you.
Would you say being on Instagram or being on Facebook or Twitter helps you on virtual reality, because you're able to zoom in with friends and family, and you're able to chat with friends, and you're able to like listen to music? Do you think that's a good health benefit?
I mean, I wouldn't say it has any health benefits, but like being on social media, I don't like it. I think it has quite a negative effect on people and what they view and all that.
Aussie's in the background.
You know what? Very wise.
Very wise.
You are incredibly wise. Absolutely great answer. Like father, like daughter.
Wonderful.
Wow. That just got to me.
It's okay to say I don't know.
I've been on social media for like 6 years now, and I don't see any real great extent to it. Or I see all this crap about, there's a lot of modifications to people on social media, and it just makes, and I think it just puts more of a negative effect on things. So virtual reality, I don't know how to link it to that, but I don't agree with.
Would you say that you spend too much time on your phone? You can't put your phone down?
Yeah, definitely. I can put my phone down. It's just that, like, it depends what sort of mood I'm in. It depends on the person. What addictive stuff is on the phone? Sort of like TikTok. I can scroll through that for a solid 3 hours.
Horsey doesn't even go on there.
You don't have any social media.
No,
yes,
Facebook.
You so know what TikTok is.
You know, I've seen it and I've heard of it and I've seen it, but I refuse to download it. It's just.
Oh yeah, you'll fall into a rabbit hole is all I can say. You'll just fall into a rabbit hole.
That's a bad health benefit, is the addiction of virtual reality, because you cannot put your phone down. There's something always that intrigues your mind to go, I need more. It's like a sugar rush.
Yeah, but then again, look how many jobs that creates. I mean, like, the fact that you're currently on your phone all the time, that you know
That's
what that
virtual
is?
reality.
That's basically real employment that you're giving to someone. Well done.
That's virtual reality.
It's not a virtual job, it's a real job.
That's virtual reality.
I mean,
Smart girl.
You're
the
keeping
people
people
moderating the
wrong.
apps have real jobs, so the people moderating and that they all get jobs from it. So there's like negatives and positives. There's a side to both.
Well done.
Well done. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Great
There you
answer.
go, your 15 minutes of fame, and you can
I'm
go
gonna
back
say
to
good night now.
getting a cup of tea.
Good night.
Good night. It was nice seeing you. We'll
Bye.
see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. See
Bye.
you soon.
Bye.
See ya.